Sunday weekly volume profile recap. See if the levels made sense from last week. See what price did. How did we close? Are we bullish? Are we bearish? Can we find some key levels for the bulls in this case to defend for continuation? Yeah, let's find out. All right, straight into the profiles. But first, for context, I want to show this one. So we basically were getting into a really tight spot here. So this is all-time high. Created a new low, and then we were unable to breach the low and the high initially, so we're creating a range. Price basically got really tight here, and we eventually broke to the upside. We closed very bullish basically last Friday. So overall, this looks like price points to, especially this high volume node on the all-time highs. I'm looking for price to get towards these highs and eventually that high volume node, and then this has to be broken for continuation to the upside for all-time high. But yeah, looking for price to get towards that swing high here, and then eventually that high volume node. So are we breaking out? Potentially. Price still has to do a lot of work to do this, but yeah, volume profile weekly. Let's see if the weekly profile can guide us through that. So initially, I just want to go over last week's profile, see if it made sense what I did. So without further ado, let's get into that. So the levels I was using was from this session, so the value area high, and then the high volume nodes up and down. So market opens up on the lows here. So this was my line in the sand. This was the high volume node in X's here. From that weekly, we closed above, we opened up, we basically did a little gap up and never retraced. So in the overnight session initially here, we traded in towards value again. US session opens and we started trading towards the high volume node. We basically start chopping into value, but we're getting value acceptance, meaning the probability becomes that we do complete value rotation, which we did. So we got back into value, got towards the other side of value. We traded outside of it, tried to break it, back into value, back out of value. Started hitting some targets up here, which was a high volume nodes and a swing high from that week. We initially sell off, basically made this a liquidity grab, got back into value, tried to do a complete value rotation, barely. I mean, it does look like a value rotation, just didn't hit that level. But we find buyers again here, back again above that weekly point of control, and then eventually on Friday we basically closed very bullish. So key level is going to be here on top this level for continuation for sure, and obviously the value levels here. But regardless, last week's plan made a lot of sense. We opened up, price held this, then I'm looking towards the value area low. If we get back into value area low, I'm looking for that weekly point of control, which we hit. If we breach that weekly point of control, I'm looking for the high. If we get above value from last week, I'm looking for these targets. If for some reason we get outside of value, hit some targets as we did, we fail and we drop back into value, I'm looking for a rotation again towards that point of control. Do we find buyers? Do we sell off, use this resistance? Then I'm just targeting the next level. So yeah, beautiful. Anyway, I think it's time for a new plan. So first of all, I'm just gonna remove these levels here. Get them out of the way. Right, so the weekly point of control. The value area high, the value area low. You see, like we were like, this is very, very, very balanced value still overall. Levels kind of stay the same. This basically turns into a composite, but I'm just going to use the last week's profile levels as a guide. And then up here, above value, I'm looking for the highest volume node with the most sell pressure. The highest volume node is this one. I'm not counting this one because this one is from my value area higher. So I'm looking at this part. And here I got the most sell pressure. So I'm basically going to use this one. So this one is going to be my line in the sand for the bulls. Speaks for itself. If the most aggressive sellers are up here and price trades above, that price is turning really, really bullish. Second target to the upside. I should use the weekly high here. It's close, but very important here. Then our target to the upside, I'm going to use that value area high here. Same, that's too close. I really don't like levels to be that close to each other. So I'm going to disregard last week's high. And I'm going to use the value area high from this week here. Volume wise, if it breaches that price swing high, it's going to get towards that value area high. So I'd rather use, there's no volume traded on that high, so I don't really like to use it as a level. Yeah, very valid though, but I'd rather do it like this. Then yeah, I'm going to use that high from that session. It's like basically equal highs here. If we get back above value from these sessions, very likely to get a move towards especially those equal highs there. Might be a quick move. That might be a quick move. Need more data. Do I need more data? So lost levels were these equal highs. If anything makes sense above. I'm just going to use the value area. This is already all-time high territory. Could be an interesting week. The point of control of that session. And the value area high, which also aligns with high of this week. So if we breach this, looks good. When two levels get like pretty close to each other, I just use one of them because it does not make sense to put like two lines on top of each other. Especially on a weekly. This is the guide for me. It's on my entry chart, but it makes sense. So if price on the last week's close has the most selling pressure up here, and next week we open up, we trade above that high volume node of the sellers, so sellers are getting trapped, sellers are losing the battle, and we move up, we trade above the value area from these two sessions, that we will get towards those swing highs. If we breach those swing highs, we are about to, this is all-time high. This is the all-time high week. So this is value from the all-time high. It makes sense for price to retest at least these levels from that week. If we get back into value from all-time high week, I'm looking for at least a move towards that point of control. And if we stay long enough in here for a complete value rotation of that weekly all-time high weekly value, so levels to the upside, the guide already for me is really obvious, and that's what it's supposed to do. Yeah, I really like it. And then the other scenario is if price were to, so again, the most selling pressure is in this high volume node. If we open up, we reject. We're always good to retest this value area high from last week. But if for some reason we start trading inside, getting acceptance back inside, I'm looking for a rotation of last week's value back towards that point of control. And if we don't find buyers, a move towards this value area low. Then if, because there's always a probability, if we sell off, we lose value, we get back below the value area low, I'm looking for the high volume node in X's on the downside here. In this case, yeah, I'm just going to use the highest volume node. That's good. I like it. And then for some reason, so once again, we lose the upper level here. We drop back into value. We lose value for some reason. We get back towards X's on the downside. We lose this bulls. Fail to trade above. We reject. The next logical level for me is gonna be the low of last week. Is that last week? No, that's from the other week. So that's the low from 2 weeks ago. I do not see it happen, but there's always a probability. And then if we see sellers still here, I think the value area low, and these levels are still good. So basically the value area level from that low, the high volume node in excess here, and the low from that session. And if you break those levels, I don't know what happened, but something must have happened then. Copy. Boom. So those are the levels for next week. So when over the bull side, what happens? Makes sense. For the bears, if we're unable to trade above, I'm looking for trades towards the value area high. If we do not bounce, I'm looking for a value rotation or at least a move towards the prior PLC. If we don't find buyers, again, value area low. If we don't find buyers, this target. If you don't find buyers, next target, and so forth. Yeah. But again, very bullish close last week. So this is the daily session. We opened up on the higher time frame. We basically did a value rotation on the weekly, on the daily profile. We found buyers on the lows here, on the value area low, trading back above prior range high. There was a naked point of control here, an untested point of control from last Wednesday, basically ripped towards it. So once price started trading above prior range high, this for me was the target. I was done, but that was the target. So to be seen if we open up and trade above these levels tomorrow. But yeah, very strong, very bullish. In this case, this is the daily chart. And I just draw the highs to the lowest low volume profile. Let me see if I can put on some lines. So overall, this is still a range, even though it's starting to look like the candlestick formation here, the squeeze, the breakout, the momentum starts to kick in here. So this is where the fun starts. If it breaks to the upside or it fails, this is where how do I say this? This is where volatility should start to kick in. So either way, where it goes, should be a good week for us. Let's see. But I'm still looking for, at first, a move towards that value area high here, which then is these highs here. So I'm looking for a move towards these highs and see what happens here. Do we show continuation? If we show continuation, it's towards that high volume node. Then again, see what happens here. Continuation or rejection, to be seen. But I'm bullish at this point in time. To be seen what happens when we open up. We'll see tomorrow. We'll find out. Should be a good week. I hope it was helpful, and I'll see you guys in the next one.